Welcome. And you know what? Welcome to Friday the 13th. Uh oh wait, what was the Saturday holiday? Oh yeah, Pi Day, the Ides of March, and St. Patrick's Day all in a row. This yeah, last week would have been right in the middle of it, but it's still the week following that. So that's our opening today. Episode 554 of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 21st of March, 2026, and featuring Escape to LA, written by Jim Gray and John Shibban or Shiban, and starring John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness, Eve Miles as Gwen Cooper, Kai Owen as Reese Williams, Mackay Pfeiffer as Rex Matheson, and Alex Havens as Esther Drummond. I am Bill Sylvia, the one in black, and it does occur to me that maybe if John Barrowman's starring in this episode, it didn't make sense to cut him from the selected top 10 birthdays. But oh well, that's what you get for being an unrepentant sex pest on set. With me is Alex Fyrehart.
Hello.
And Erin RomeoMoon Burke is not with us in the call. But we do have her thoughts. She's working, I think, in like 6 hours, 7 hours, or something like that.
Yeah.
So she has opted to be well rested.
Fair.
So it's been 6 weeks since we've spoken, I think. Or
close to
obviously we speak in Discord all the time.
Yeah.
But
from what I can recall, last time it was a matter of I have to believe the last one we did was either very late January or early February. Because
according to the last video export was March 7.
Okay, yeah, that fits because I remember that.
February 7, not March 7, February 7.
Yeah, that makes sense because because I'm like. Okay, because I remember that I was going away the weekend after, basically the normal week that we would have had off in between was when I was going on a trip. So I was like, oh, sweet, that lines up to where I don't have to miss a podcast. And then just stuff happened. I think one of these we probably would have either had, because basically we've been gone for this long because Erin has just had a lot going on and would not have been able to give notes.
Right.
In some cases, which is
I forget.
Fair.
So that was definitely why we missed the most recent one. I don't remember what happened.
Because it was 2 weeks.
4 weeks ago.
It was 2 weekends in a row, which that I think one was work related, and the other was her dad's funeral. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
she just wasn't able to leave notes for that.
Yeah, she wasn't able to
either.
Yeah, she wasn't able to leave notes either time, which again, fair.
Gotcha.
There's a lot. She's dealing with a lot, so it's it's very fair.
Yeah. And I if I had more energy, I think there would have been at least one of those. I would have been like, fuck it, let's go ahead and do it.
Right, yeah.
That's the downside to having only a 3-person cast.
Right.
But honestly, I've just been I have not had the energy to be extra entertaining to make up for a missing person.
Right. Because I definitely think one of those, it might have been the first one we missed. It was a matter of we might have, but I think I remember you saying that you were in desperate need of sleep. So I just kind of gave you an out of if you don't, if you don't want to, we can just not. And you were like, yeah, let's just not. But yeah, in terms of what I've been up to since I've been away, as I mentioned, I went on a trip. I went to both my state capital, Brisbane, but before that, I went to Sydney because the wrestling organization, All Elite Wrestling, came to Australia in February and did 2 shows back to back in different cities. And Australia is comparable in size to the US. So I did a 90-minute roughly flight to Brisbane, and then I had to do about that distance again to get to Sydney, I stayed in Sydney for a few
Okay.
days. And then I went to their main show, which was in Sydney, and I was just staying in like walking distance of the venue. um, and that show was great, and it allowed me to participate in a fuck ice chant, which was fun. Because a wrestler named Brody King, and it's come up in last week tonight, I think, in the episode about ICE and the Department of Homeland Security, I think. That Brody King has been very staunchly anti-ICE, to the point that when they were in Mexico once for a show, he flat out wore like an abolish ICE shirt to the ring. And like spontaneously, the week before they came to Australia, the crowd just started chanting fuck ICE. And when they came to Australia, same thing happened.
Yep.
Like he was in the main event before the match started, there was a fuck ICE chant. And it's like that's basically followed him around ever since. So that's great, especially considering the reputation wrestling fans can have, which in some cases is understandable. It's nice to see. I think some people probably would have been surprised that it happened in Australia, but it's like, well, yeah, we don't like that shit either. So,
I mean, it definitely says a lot that like a paramilitary quasi police force that only it in theory only ever acts on U.S. territory within the U.S. has gotten such international
yeah,
response because they're just that out of pocket.
right. But yeah, the funny thing was that like after that show and all that, I had to be up to make sure I was at the airport on time, considering the sheer distance away from where I was staying the airport was, and to make sure I was there in time to like check in everything and whatever and get through. I ended up having to be awake at like 5 a.m. Sydney time, I think, which was 4 a.m. Queensland time because of daylight savings. So, and then I got a taxi to a train station because, like, there was a train station nearby, but I'm like, it's still dark out. I'm kind of paranoid about that shit. I think I'll just get one to like a further away train station that's likely to actually be manned, probably. But and then yeah, like got to the airport fine. I got very lucky when I got into Brisbane because when I got to the hotel, it was like roughly around 10 a.m. I think. It might have been around 12, like around midday or something. And usually check-ins at 2. And thank God they actually had an empty room that met what I'd booked. So like, oh, okay, we'll just let you in now because we've got a room ready to go.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, oh, thank God. Because for the Brisbane one, I forked out a little bit of extra money for a package that would let me in a bit early.
Okay.
Whereas I didn't do that for the Sydney one. I probably should have because good lord, they ran out of merch by the time I got to the front of the line in Sydney. But yeah, it was yeah, like the shows were good generally as well. But it's one of those things of like, if I ever do that again, I'm going to have to coordinate it better, or maybe stay closer to the airport and just train out to the venue or something like that. Because that was like, ugh. Like that was a lot. It's either that or I'm just going to have to like really force myself to get to bed like as soon as I get back from the show or something like that. Because that's,
I know I'm not even capable of that.
yeah,
If after a high energy thing like that, it takes me, unless I'm
right,
like
yeah,
beyond, to the point where I'm falling asleep on my feet, it
yeah.
takes me a few hours to just like calm my nervous system down.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was very lucky. I was very happy that the show in Brisbane got out way earlier because it was more of a house show, so like not filmed for TV.
Gotcha.
Rather than going like 3 to 4 hours like the one they did in Sydney where they taped some other stuff first and then taped the main AEW stuff. Um which that went long. I think we were getting out around like 11 p.m. or later. The other one got out around 10, possibly earlier. So I was like, oh, thank God. This got out at a more reasonable time. Um, and yeah, it was like, and Sydney itself, like when I got to the hotel I was staying there, none of the outlets were working. Power outlets were working in the room. So I got moved to another room, and then the outlets weren't working in that. They moved me to a different floor, and then I was in a room where the outlets worked. So it was just like, that was a lot of getting dicked around. Whereas get to Brisbane, fine, no real issues there. I basically just slept in on the Monday because I was like, I just no, because I didn't fly back home until the Wednesday, so I was like, Monday's just gonna be for sleeping. Screw it. Like, I'm not gonna set an alarm or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't care. I'm just gonna sleep in. um, yeah. Aside from that, it's basically just been work and stuff, and um, I did buy while I was in Brisbane. I did end up buying a. I think it only ended up costing me like $50. I got like a little sort of Warhammer 40k starter set thingy where you get like 3 Space Marine models, some paints, and a paintbrush or whatever. Because I was like, why not? Because I've been like I've been kind of getting into that over the last year and a bit, I think. Nowhere to actually paint them though, so that's more of a project for down the line. But yeah.
Got a lot of those.
Hmm.
I I keep leaning back, and normally that's not a problem, except at the beginning of the week, I noticed there was a loose screw in my chair, and I just needed to figure out where I had a hex key so I could fix it. And I haven't done that because I've been busy. And now I noticed that that screw is gone. Like it popped out at
Hmm.
some point. It is somewhere on my office floor
Oh.
on the carpet. So every time I lean back, like my chair pops out of alignment.
Hmm.
Anything else?
Uh, that's a bit. Well, I guess as well. One last thing is my. I don't know if it's just due to the sheer heat at this point, but the headset that I've got,
It's not appropriate for it to
the
be hot where you are and hot where I am at the same
yeah.
time. That's illegal.
The sort of ear pad things on the headset basically peeled off. Like both
Mm.
by the end of it, both of them. So initially I was just gonna go screw it and buy a new headset. But given the headset itself still works fine, I decided screw it. I found some ear pads that were like I think they were about like with postage were about like $50 ish.
Oh,
Like
nice.
under 60 anyway, Australian. So I was like, screw it, I'll just do that. They took
Mm.
forever to get here despite only coming from Singapore. Um but yeah, like by the time that happened, the other one fell off because it was just the right one that had fallen off. The left one fell off before they showed up. They're a bit of a pain to get on, but the funny thing is these actually cancel out more noise because they're thicker than the ones that it came with.
Got you.
So there was one, like the other day, my dad was like, I was trying to get your attention before. And I was like, oh, I just didn't hear that at all. So, like, what I was listening to must have been loud enough that it was just drowning out everything else.
Got you. Yeah, I forget if I've talked about, like, I was planning to buy a new headset sometime like within the past couple of months, but after looking around for a while, I realized to get one that I'd actually be happy with that would like improve enough things that I felt it was worth spending the money, I'd have to spend like $350.
Yeah.
And I realized all the things that I want it for are not worth $350 each right now.
Yeah.
Like, I podcasting, great, fun time, not worth $350 on a headset.
Yeah.
My part-time job, yes, great, part-time job, not worth spending $350 on equipment that will help me do a part-time job better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've decided not to spend that money while I have, kind of maybe not perfectly good headsets, but good enough ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hell, like, I remember but prior to getting one similar to the one I have now, like, I was basically just, because I was also working less hours then, I was just holding on to the PlayStation headset that I was using prior. I was holding on to that for dear life. That was held together with literal tape and a wish at that point. Like,
Yeah.
that was, I literally had that thing taped to all hell to be able to still use it. And then at the end, I was just like, screw it, I need another one. And I'd either gotten like just more hours than usual at the time because it was getting close to Christmas or what. But I ended up just buying that and a new mic. And like, it's funny because like, I've had to replace the USB cord for this mic, but the mic itself has been fine. And I bought that pre-COVID, and that was less. I think it was
good.
It was either less than $100 when I got it, or it was like marked down to under 100.
Nice.
So it was like, it's definitely getting my money's worth.
That's something I should consider. Like, find something I like, and then look for the older version of it.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll talk a little about my time. So let's see. So I presented at a conference. About a week or two after our last podcast, which was a good time. I think it's always useful in terms of calibrating where I am in the research that I do. So, for instance, in this case, I attended most of the gender and sexual orientation talks, and had usually a question or a comment, like a question of some sort at each one, to the point where I actually even had at least one person like come up to me while I was eating and say, "Thank you for the insightful question." So I seem to be doing a pretty good job for in-person parts of my own research. Now, the fact that I need to get my ass moving on actually publishing something is still a top priority. And I would have been working on that this week, but I had basically an assignment that had been delayed that I needed to finish first, which took up most of my time this week. The other rest of my week was spent just being tired and sleeping all the time. And I don't know how much of that is just like, catching up on lost sleep from like being busy versus the fact that it's really clear that the typical like standard industry time schedule, right? Like 9 to 5 or 10 to 6.
Yeah.
And my natural sleep schedule are diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
I was not trying to like stay up late or anything like that.
Mm.
But the only rule I followed was, okay, if I'm feeling really tired to the point where I'm having trouble concentrating, I sleep because it's spring break.
Yeah.
And within like 3 days, I was on that go to sleep at 6 a.m., wake up 7 hours later schedule. I was not even trying to stay up that late, but that's what my body enforced on me.
Mm. Yeah.
Otherwise, let's see. I just talked about spring break, talked about my presentation. I'm trying to grow out a side cut, which I don't know how much of that is just, I mean, I cut my own hair this time and it was the most complex, like self haircut I've done. But what it basically was is because I cannot stand hair touching my ears or neck, I basically gave myself a faux hawk more or less and then just
Yeah.
swooped it all to one side. But I'm thinking try to grow it out into a side cut and kind of see. I mean, I've always said like I wish I had the like guts to just go into a salon and be like, I want a haircut such that people cannot tell whether to call me a guy or a lesbian. And so I'm just like, fuck it. That's what I'm doing. The haircuts I've been having so far do not look lesbian enough. So that's just the haircuts I'm giving myself. Or maybe one of these days I'll just walk in and be like, I want a haircut to the point where people stop assuming he, him.
Yeah.
I think that's all the interesting things I have to say about my month. So, I definitely did not update this part of the outline, so I'll just not look at the list and say on this week's show, we've got birthdays and news. As always, we've cut it down to 10 relevant birthdays. We've got some Doctor Who and some War Between the Land and the Sea news. We do not have Big Finish releases because we'd be here all night.
Yeah.
But we do have a big piece of Big Finish news. Then we have some geek talk and our summary review, summary, final thought, or review, final thoughts and ratings on tonight's episode.
Mm-hmm. So, moving on to birthdays. On the 10th of February, we had Peter Purves, who played Stephen Taylor from 65 to 66, plus work for Big Finish, turned 87. On the 16th, we had Christopher Eccleston, who played the Doctor in Series 1, plus work for Big Finish in more recent years, turned 62. On the 17th of February, we had Jack Montgomery, who played the young Jack Harkness in Adam, turned 34. On the 25th of February, we had Sadie Miller, who played Natalie Redfern in the Sarah Jane Smith audio series, and was the recast Sarah Jane for Big Finish, and also is the daughter of Sarah Jane actor Elizabeth Sladen, turned 41. Moving on to March, we have on the 1st, Roger Delgado, who played the Master from 71 to 73. Would have been 108, but died in 73 at the age of 55. On the 5th of March, we have Matt Lucas, who played Nardole from 2015 to 2017, who turned 52. On the 11th, we have Alex Kingston, who played River Song from 2008 to 2015, plus work for Big Finish, turned 63. On the 16th, we have John Leeson, who was the voice of K9 from 77 to 83, and again from 2006 to 2010, plus work for Big Finish, turned 83 as well. On the 20th, we have Freema Agyeman, who played Aola in Army of Darkness Doomsday, but more well known for being Martha Jones from 2008 to 2010. Better known as Q and Discord, plus work for Big Finish, turned 47. Finally on the 21st, we have Peter Pratt, who played the Master in The Deadly Assassin. Would have been 103, but died in 95 at the age of 71. So happy birthday.
I think there's a spreadsheet error there because Q and Discord have nothing to do with Freema Agyeman.
Yeah, that did throw me off at first, but I was
I'm really confused as to how they ended up in the same spreadsheet cell. Yeah. So I'm going to have to look into that.
But yeah, happy birthday to Peter, Christopher, Jack, Sadie, Roger, Matt, Alex, John, Freema, and Peter.
I do like how it started and ended with Peter.
Yeah.
Moving on from there, we start off with some past episode news. Both the beginning and sort of the beginning and the end of the classic series. So with the slightly older piece of news, first off, the Paul McGann movie, also known as the 1996 Doctor Who movie, or sometimes jokingly referred to as The Enemy Within, has been announced as getting a 4K restoration, which apparently is different from Blu-ray. I thought it was just a resolution that could be on a Blu-ray disc, but I've never owned a device that can do 4K, so I wouldn't know.
I think the idea is like Blu-ray is full HD. 4K is like above that.
So it is its own special kind of disc.
Yeah, like I don't know if you need a 4K. Like I've never dealt with 4Ks either, but from what I understand from people who have them, there is definitely a difference in quality. It's like either way, it's still HD. It's just that one's even more HD.
Yeah,
which seems like a weird pick for something made in the mid '90s, but
anyway. That. But also, given that actually, it was a TV movie, so I can't really say that it was made like I can't do the usual. Well, it was made for the big screen. Yeah. Why would it take so long to get it 4K for the small screen? This was made for TV, so that's a little different.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's like if there's any. I mean, I remember Diamanda Hagen used to joke that like she thought that the only Doctor Who release that would ever get Blu-ray for the that was related to the show would be Spearhead from Space, because that was shot entirely on 16 millimeter film. Rather than like normal TV studio cameras as well, because they just shot everything on location. Whereas, they've done Blu-ray releases of a bunch of stuff now, but yeah.
Right. But that was the first one. At a certain point, I fear them like just using the movie equivalent of DLSS 5 on they're like enhance. There's nothing left to enhance. Right. AI enhance something.
Yeah, and it's like I could almost get the 4K release more if they were like, okay, let's invest a little bit of money and upgrade the special effects. But
I mean, every time they do that, arguably the result is sometimes worse.
Right. Like, I think the only time we've ever been like, oh, that actually wasn't that bad was like the CGI snake they did for Kinder. Which we didn't, I don't think we did, like, we didn't review the version that had that in there, but there is like, on the DVD release, there is like a version of that episode that has a CGI snake instead. And I remember Matt really gushing over the CGI snake. So it was like, well, it must have been like, especially given how Matt was like the one to be really nitpicky about technical stuff. Like, it says something that he was like, oh, this is actually really good for the money they had, especially.
But as for the release, we see there's going to be 3 new featurettes with Dashni Affbrook, Eric Roberts, and Yi Ji Tso. So the people we hear from a little bit less often than Sylvester McCoy or Paul McGann, at least Doctor Who fans.
Yeah.
Paul McGann's audition tape.
Oh.
I don't know if that was part of. I don't know if that was part of past releases or not. The only thing explicitly labeled as new here is the 3 new featurettes.
Right.
They say there's an uncensored UK version and a US broadcast version. I was not aware that there was.
Yeah. All I can assume is maybe one of them has blood in it and the other doesn't. Because it's Doctor Who, so they're not exactly going to be, having nudity and stuff.
Right. It's like well, the writers wrote the Doctor calling somebody a cunt, but they didn't know that was a bad word in the US.
I mean, technically it's a bad word in the UK. It's just a lot more like, oh, that's pretty tame. Yeah, all I can assume is that they maybe had blood and they were like, no, this is supposed to be for families. Get that blood out of here. Because it was still the 90s.
Moving on from that, we also have not restored, but found. I'm sure there's a recovered versions of the first 2. I want to say is it the first two? Yes, the first 2 parts of the Daleks' master plan. So I think we officially have something like 30% of that serial.
Yeah, we've got. It's like we've got 5 out of 12. And
okay. I thought it was 4 out of 12.
And as I've seen people point out, the Feast of Stephen is probably the only one that's like perma gone because it was never sent anywhere else.
And that's also the one that was intentionally made to be as much filler as possible because they assumed people. This it's still funny to say this out loud. They assumed that nobody would be watching Doctor Who with their families on Christmas.
Yeah.
So they made a filler episode that nobody would watch.
Yeah, and because of a BBC mandate at the time, it's the one where he breaks the 4th wall and says Merry Christmas to all of you at home.
Yeah.
So it's like so I've seen people joke that it's more like we've got 5 out of 11. Because that's probably just gone. Unless someone actually has the audio for it, and if it's that filler, they might just be like, screw it, we'll cut it. Unless there's like anything important, but maybe they just like edit the important stuff into like another episode or something.
Right. This brings the current count of missing episodes to 95. And it means the first quarter of the story is now back in the archives, which allows us to see, the end of Adrian Hill's portrayal of Katerina and the beginning of Nicholas Courtney's first role as Brett Vion.
I think now all we need is like the last episode of the Mythmakers, and we'd have all of Katerina's run.
Also, Doctor Who news, you spelled Brigadier with too many R's. I don't know if I'm supposed to be pronouncing him Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart. But if I do that, it feels weird to roll the Brigadier, but not the Lethbridge.
Oh, and as an aside, they did a screening for those 2 missing episodes. And they had... it was Peter Purves along. And didn't tell him what it was a screening for.
Okay.
So when they started up, he was like, oh, this is a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
He actually got to see them again.
I'm assuming he keeps up with the news enough to know that those episodes were missing in the first place.
Oh, yeah. But I think it was, but like he wasn't.
Imagine if he was just like a Harrison Ford type and be like, I don't care. And then he just sat down and be like, why are you showing me this? Moving on from there, we go to some spin-off news with the war between the land and the sea. So the BBC has put out a documentary, and I keep closing this window. You'd think I would know by now not to close windows on podcast day, but at the same time, I have so many windows open on podcast day that I would not, like, my computer would crash if I didn't close them. Let me see how long this is. Uh, so the official Doctor Who YouTube channel has put out a 34-minute documentary on the making of the war between the land and the sea. So I imagine it's something like, 6 Doctor Who Confidential episodes crammed together. Actually, even a regular Doctor Who episode has a making of about close to 30 minutes these days, don't they?
I think so. But yeah, Confidential was like 15 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because
Maybe it's the version that followed Confidential was the much shorter one then.
Yeah, because it's like Confidential was basically be like filling up the rest of the hour after Doctor Who finished.
Got you.
Is what I take it as. So it was like upwards of 45-minute episode, and then the 15-minute episode, the 15-minute Confidential to fill out the hour.
Well, see, back then an episode was 42 minutes.
Right. I guess there might have been like a little like 2-minute gap or something, maybe.
Yeah.
Or two or three.
So in this documentary, of course, we hear a bit from Russell T Davies, which Cultbox has generously compiled some bits into an article. Because, yeah, it doesn't make sense for us to watch the documentary because we'd be watching the making of episodes that, wait, actually, that's another news article. We'll get to that. It's a very short one. We won't be talking long about. We won't be talking long about the article. We might be talking long about the content. Anyway, so RTD mentions that when he talked about coming back to Doctor Who, this was his first idea. And let's see, the way he says this, he said, "I had this idea separately first." It almost makes me think he called up BBC and said, "Hey, can we do a spin-off about the Sea Devils?" And then they were like, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, what about taking over Doctor Who also?" Like, I don't know exactly how that, I want to hear that conversation now to know exactly.
Right. Knowing how desperate the BBC were at the time, I guarantee it was probably a matter of him calling them about doing a spin-off and then being like, "For the love of God, please, can you come back?"
Or the article does say alongside, so maybe he was like,
right.
"I have an idea for the 60th and also for a spin-off." And then they were like, "Oh, so great. Also, can you take over the show after the anniversary too?"
Yeah. Because like again, I almost wish that even if it ends up being good when we get around to watching it, if this ends up being a thing, like I still really wish that these 5 episodes had just been given to the 2 seasons with Shooty that we got.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, they would have had 5 things to work with to do specials to round out his time. Like, they could have just ended season 2 the way it ended, and he could have been like, "Okay, after these specials, I'm gone." And they could have done like another year worth of specials thing to round it out.
But yeah, so Codebox highlights, right? Davies publicly teased an 8-word title in December 2022. And then in December 2023 came back and said it's been a bit delayed and those 8 words will be revealed any month now. And so, of course, it's now 2026 and only part of the world has even seen those episodes. So let's see. I don't think it says anything about why it was postponed for that long.
Probably just because of all the work on the other stuff. Like, maybe if it was a thing of him having come up with the idea separate of coming back as showrunner again, then it could be maybe he's like, "Okay, I'll put all of my focus on speed running the seasons of Doctor Who I've got to do, and then we'll focus on that."
It also makes me think of, so this is a weird analogy, but like, bear with me. So in an interview, 50 Cent once said, like, they were asked about why, like, the G Unit rollout seemed different from other like music groups that are
Mm.
spearheaded by a single person. And he said, well, what the label wants to do is they want your first two albums and then your group's first album. And he fought against that. So it was his album, then the group's album, and then his second album after that. So I kind of wonder if that's what the studios were thinking. We
Mm.
want 2 seasons of Doctor Who before you're allowed to do any spin-offs.
Right.
And so that's what the production order ended up being or something.
Right. Which the irony is, if the whole thing was, we're just speed running these to allow Shooty time to do other things, why not just have taken this sweet ass time and done this between his seasons? Like,
Right.
wouldn't that have made more sense? Because then he'd have more time to do other stuff.
Yeah.
Because then they could have just done like the Christmas special, a Christmas special 1 year, and then this that year otherwise, and then the next year we come back for season 2.
Mm-hmm. But as I hinted at, the other article that we have, it's not so much news as kind of like a check-in sort of thing. Is that Disney Plus was supposed to air The War Between the Land and the Sea in early 2026, and I guess they've released their April list, and War Between Land and the Sea is nowhere on it. So the earliest that it can possibly air at this point is May through June. And so Cultbox basically has this article saying, at best, that's mid 2026. And I would kind of say anything up to June is the first half of the year, but I don't know, I don't know if TV insiders have a particular definition. It feels to me as a viewer and a podcaster that they just throw these words around like early, late. It doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
It's just kind of an estimate.
Right.
But so that's my interpretation. When they say early 2026, they mean anytime before October.
Right.
Cultbox is not taking that approach, and in theory, they know more than me, or they're just more pedantic than me. I don't know which, and I'm pretty pedantic. But, but that's kind of fucking point taken. The UK is probably already, if it's a great show, they've been talking about it for months. If it's a terrible show, they've already forgotten about it. Like by the time the US got Class, which was milquetoast at best. So at this point, it's like, what the fuck? Like,
we
could have pirated it again, but
I am still of the mind that what they might as well have done is just, instead of doing the weekly releases, because maybe that's why they're like, oh, we're prioritizing stuff we give a shit about, and so it just keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. It's basically, while it's not anywhere near as extreme, it just kind of feels like it's the bloody New Mutants now. It's just like, it basically may as well not exist in their mind. It feels like, just drop it all at once. If that's like, if it's such an afterthought, just drop all of it at once rather than week to week to week. Like, just get it out of the way. Just randomly drop it. If they care so little.
It's wild to me that even some of these Japanese companies, and keep in mind, it takes a lot more work to take something from Japanese and release it in the US than something made in the UK. Yeah. But even some of these Japanese companies are like, hey, the Twitter is worldwide, Reddit is worldwide, Blue Sky is worldwide. We're not going to weigh with releasing something in August in one country and December in another country. We're going to lose half of our audience. It's all going to be pirated. But fucking, this is the same country. Disney Plus has already spent its money. They've already bought this. And they're like, we're not even going to bother putting it on our platform. Like, what is the benefit of that?
And the funny thing is like, as far as I can tell, the idea is like, once it's finally out on Disney Plus, that's technically delivery. That's when the deal ends. So it feels like they're
Yeah.
just being petty, like for no
Like they're
reason.
just holding up negotiations or something.
Right. Like, because as far as I'm aware, it's like it has come out since. It's like, or at least that's a speculation of, once this is out on Disney Plus, then they can like fully out on Disney Plus. That's the end of the deal, because they've delivered on what, like the last bit that needed to be out. And then from there, the BBC can finally start like actually making deals with other companies about
I guess
potentially putting it on streaming elsewhere.
I guess the other possible explanation is like, how Disney has really gone under the like, we really need to lick Ron DeSantis's boots. We really need to lick Donald Trump's boots.
Mm.
In the past few years, like they went from like, okay, we've been really hesitant about this, but we're tired of like, our gay fans hating us. We're going to allow some gay into Disney. And then the fascists were like, what the fuck? You can't have gay in Disney. 1969 was too recent. Uh, so they've gone really hard on the like nothing gay in Disney again. And I wonder, especially since RTD is a producer on this,
Mm.
if, there's anything. I mean, I guess, there seems to be a multiracial or multi-species romance possibly going on in this. I don't know if that might have ruffled some racist feathers or anything,
Yeah.
but I kind of wonder if it's being held up for that sort of like political culture war reasoning.
Which is kind of funny, because if Disney fully just goes screw you to queer people, that's a lot of income that they've lost, because a lot of queer people pump money into Disney.
Yep.
And a lot of them don't have like kids and all that they've also got to pay for, so they're willing to drop more. So, like that's a lot of money that's going to just vanish. Now, some of them are probably just going to keep giving them money, like in that like large amounts. But point is, a lot of them will probably be like, okay, if you don't want me here, then see ya, and I'm taking my money with me.
Right. So that brings us. Oh yeah, and then we have a little piece. There's not much to say here other than they still haven't negotiated a co-producer. Apparently, basically the bottom of the market has kind of fallen out for co-productions, and everything has gone to shit, which is kind of what we knew about the TV industry right now.
Yeah.
So that's really all that they have to say about, like, we don't know who the U.S. partner for Doctor Who is. They make some comments about HBO having been great partners for other people recently. But HBO is now being bought out, so who the fuck knows about that?
Yeah. Especially since seemingly Paramount have strong-armed their way into winning that bidding war, so we'll see what happens.
Right. And then our next piece of news it's a big one and a small one at the same time. So anybody who's new or hasn't really been following things might not know that the Big Finish does not have an infinite license to print Doctor Who audio dramas forever and ever. It gets renewed from time to time, and I think it's been renewed twice while this podcast was running. By the way, it's the 11th anniversary of our dedicated channel on YouTube, so that kind of fits in that remark. But the renewal has come up again, and BBC has approved Big Finish to continue making Doctor Who audio dramas until the end of 2035. And I don't like that's a factual framing.
Yeah.
I don't like that framing because it allows if you're going to be alarmist culture warrior, you're like, oh, the Big Finish, BBC is cracking down on Big Finish. They're going to end the license at 2035. Absolutely not the case. Like, they're
Right.
extending it 10 years. I'm pretty sure the last time it was extended, it was for fewer than 10 years. So
Mm,
if anything, they're more confident about Big Finish than they ever were before.
right. And like, I would assume it's basically a matter of, at least it wouldn't surprise me, is if like they're basically just keeping track of how much money these audios are bringing in. And maybe if it falls below certain levels, are like, it's still okay, but we're gonna renew your license for like less time. So maybe it's gone up.
There's that.
So
They
that's why
they
they're getting a
also
decade.
they also make like little changes. Like I think the last time it was renewed, they're like, we can use Matt Smith now or something like that, I
Right.
think. And
Probably,
I
yeah.
don't know, like, I mean, they don't really publish all of those little details, but
Mm,
they might have gotten permission to use some characters or storylines that they didn't previously have, but we're not really privy
mm.
to that information.
Right. I guess, was it this or last year that they said they'd be doing some stuff with 13?
Um, I'm pretty sure it was, yeah, I'm pretty sure that would have been that last year.
Yeah.
Uh, I know there was like an interview with Jodie Whittaker talking about their Big Finish stuff, but
Mm,
I didn't think it was anything new enough to include in the news,
right. But yeah, like,
especially on a week like this.
so it might be in some cases they add it when they're re-upping it, in other cases it's like, yeah, it's been long enough. We'll just add that
Right.
now.
Like
Um,
there might have been an original contract, or like you can use anything released up until 2010 and then anything up
right.
until 2000, 2020.
Yeah.
Uh
With now, I'm assuming it's probably like it's been X amount of years since that doctor was on TV, or it's been X amount of years since that doctor's first appearance on TV. Given that, Jesus, it's like been next year will be a decade since Jodie Whittaker debuted, and that feels weird to think about.
right.
Because
Or
yeah,
I guess, I mean, it could
it,
be like if, given the relationship with RTD, he could have just been like, yeah, we're basically giving them free reign over fucking anything for the next 10 years, whatever they feel like
right.
doing.
I guess as well, I almost wonder if that's a consequence of the Disney deal. Of maybe they were like, well, we're basically treating this as a soft reboot, so anything prior is free game now, or something like that.
Right. Yeah, they might have needed it because I mean, with at one point they had like all of Big Finish was using the Jodie Whittaker logo, which I'm
Hmm.
assuming was something that BBC passed down to
Right.
them, and then they pulled back from that
Hmm.
once Chibnall left the position.
Yeah.
That is the end of our news, which brings us to Geek Talk.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like, oh god, this would have been, both of these were definitely February. I got the chance to see, first definitely was Iron Long, the movie that Markiplier did based on an indie game. Which, the interesting thing that I learned watching a podcast review of it was that apparently he did actually bring the creator of the game in to flesh the world out, rather than just
Nice.
make up his own shit to flesh it out to work for a movie. Um, like whoever was doing the writing with him or for him or whatever. But yeah, it's like it's a fascinating watch, especially knowing that he self-funded this. Um, and it's like all of that money is on the screen. um, and the fact that this has made money, uh, is really interesting. But although I have definitely seen people be quick to point out that, like, don't get excited. This isn't exactly like the future of cinema or anything, because like very few people are in the position that Markiplier is in, where he's got 3 million or whatever it was to just drop on making this. Like, he's in a very specific thing where he can do that, whereas like, you know, the people that run the Dead Meat channel have been wanting to do a movie for years, but they don't have Markiplier money.
Right.
So it's they would be having to go through a studio, whereas Markiplier was like, fuck it, I'll make my own studio and do it independently so I don't have to deal with studios. Like,
I'm guessing this movie is why I've seen all these like think pieces lately of just like the history of Markiplier and like Markiplier's big comeback and all of these, and I'm like, I wasn't aware Markiplier needed a comeback. I thought he'd been here for years.
Well, yeah, that's the funny thing is like I haven't really been following him that closely, but like he's always been a very big YouTuber, and there's no way
people have never stopped saying his name. That's
right,
for sure.
like that's clearly never slowed down. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the money to throw at this. Let alone this getting as wide a release as it did, because this got a release in my hometown, and I live in a regional part of Australia that we're lucky if we get movies from like you know, China or here, there, whatever. Like, we're lucky if we get some of those international movies, or like movies that are from the US but are not big budget, big studio movies. So the fact that this movie was screening in my hometown for at least a week is a miracle. Like, that's the pull this guy has to be able to make that happen. So, you know, and like, again, fascinating movie. I definitely think it's worth watching. It doesn't really matter if you haven't played the game, because again, like I didn't know until after the fact that it was based on a game. But yeah, it was, again, fascinating watch. For what it is, like, you know, is it like, oh my god, best movie ever? No, but like, again, knowing that he self-funded this and that like basically you can tell all the money's on screen and all that, it's just very interesting to me. It's like very fascinating watch. I'd say go watch it. By contrast, I then saw, like, while I was still in Brisbane, I decided to go and see a movie called Blades of the Guardians, which apparently is also an adaptation of a manhwa, or however that word is specifically said, which is effectively the Chinese equivalent of manga.
Right.
I think it was called Bao Ren. Is what the manhwa is called, and yeah, it's, my god, this movie is fucking great. Like, it's not full wuxia, because wuxia, I feel like, to me implies that it's like a bit more superhero-y, kind of like what the Matrix is pulling from with some of Neo's stuff, like
live action Mulan.
Right. Whereas this is more a kung fu movie with a ton of blood. Just like people getting limbs cut off, all this shit, like getting
so Chinese like, Kill Bill,
kind of, I guess. Like, yeah, it's like, I forget what the rating was, but then I was like, well, yeah, there is quite a lot of blood, so I guess. Because I'm used to these movies, like, to be fair, I have not seen a ton of these kinds of movies. But I guess I'm used to like older ones where they don't tend to show a ton of blood. Like, there'll be blood, but not this amount. There's a lot. Like, even, you know, I guess not fully Tarantino levels. Although I guess it shows how the times have changed, that like there are probably some scenes that would have the same issue as Tarantino, where it's like, oh, there's too much blood spraying around or whatever. This would need to be shown in black and white. But yeah, I love this. Like, it's funny because I can't tell if that is going to be a sequel. And when the movie comes up, it does say like Blades of the Guardians and then a subtitle that I can't remember. And I'm like, so I almost was like, oh wait, is this like a part 2? And that's like, no, this is the first movie. So I'm guessing it's a matter of maybe it was just adapting like part of the manhwa rather than trying to like shove a fully finished, effectively comic book story into one movie. It was probably like, let's just do this chunk, so we're not trying to cut a hell of a lot out. But yeah, it's interesting. It's like this effectively a sort of bounty hunter who's like the second most wanted man in all of China, trying to get this sort of revolutionary guy to safety somewhere, or to like so he can do a speech somewhere or something like that, and like all the shit that happens across the way. And this is also interesting because I think this is probably the first movie I've seen set in China in the past that has been primarily set in a desert. Like, it's in a sort of more desert chunk of China. I forget the exact region that they name, but I'm like, it gives it such an interesting visual appearance, because I'm used to stuff like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or whatever, where it could be in a forest or something, or just lots of greenery. And this is just all like mountains and sand and all that, like just rocky, very rocky ground. If they run across water, it's like, oh, thank God. Like, it's very interesting in that way, of like just how visually different it is to any movie set in China I think I've ever seen, even some modern ones. But yeah, very interesting. A very interesting movie. If you get the chance, go see it. I literally saw this the day before it was. Well, no, yeah. This was released early to coincide with the Lunar New Year. So because I happened to go on Lunar, like, I was like, oh sweet, okay. I realized that after the fact. It's like, oh, this movie isn't technically out yet. It doesn't even have a wiki summary yet. So I technically got to see it early, because they decided to release it early in some markets for Lunar New Year. So that was kind of cool.
So I'm not finding a lot of great information. What I am finding is that, so the title is dang it, I apparently searched too many things, but okay, what did I do? Search multiple. I don't even know what I did. The title is something like Desert Wind Rising. And so I clearly did a bunch of Google searches because I wanted to make sure I didn't fall behind you. But the important part is that does not match any of the names of the individual books in the manhwa series. But when I look it up, and it's hard, I don't have time to separate AI hallucination from some dude's opinion from like actual correct fact. But the information I'm finding at a cursory search is that it's the early narrative of Biao Ren. So it kind of just seems like we're going to put a title on this in case it does well enough that we can make a second movie.
Right.
Without anything really confirmed as to like, it's not like this is volumes 1 through 4 and the next movie will be volumes 5 through 8. Nothing that specific.
Right.
But it does seem to mostly focus on the early parts of the story. So it seems like it's kind of just like, if this does well enough, maybe we'll do a part 2, but who knows?
Yeah. Like I would assume that's why, because yeah, it's like it's only within the actual movie itself that it has a subtitle, so that I could find anywhere. So yeah, like I would assume, yeah, maybe it's the idea of like sort of like how like Star Wars, the like A New Hope was originally just Star Wars, and then
Right.
after it's only after Empire came out that it got retroactively renamed.
I mean, it's also even like the Avengers. I'm pretty sure
hmm.
nobody called that Avengers Assemble, at least not in the United States,
Well,
until
yeah,
after. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure if anyone in the U.S. has ever called it. That might just be an international
yeah,
title now that I think about it.
it's the
But
UK title because of
I see.
the old spy show,
Oh,
The
because so
Avengers.
so it has nothing to do with sequels. It has to do with keeping franchises apart.
Yeah,
Okay.
it would have been a matter of they probably couldn't get The Avengers, and they decided to not have a subtitle for the first
Yeah, or
movie.
they didn't want fans of ITV to show up and get mad.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab a glass of water and then we can continue.
Mm-hmm. I guess while Bill's gone, I will also add that Jet Li has a cameo in this. That like, it's been long enough since I've seen Jet Li in anything that I was like, I'm pretty sure that's him. And then at the end, it turns out, yes, I was correct. Because at first I was like, is that him? Because the facial hair is a bit distracting. And I don't know what he would look like now because it's been so long since I saw him in anything. And then, oh, okay, yep. I was definitely correct. Isn't just someone who looks vaguely like him, it is just him with facial hair. So let's see. Make sure I've got that ready to go. At least so I can use it as reference. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just go to that.
I took my first sip of water and realized I needed to pee, so it wouldn't have been a good idea to sit back right back down. So it took slightly long to get back.
No
All right,
worries.
but hopefully that gave you a chance to take a sip of water because you continue to speak for 5
Yeah.
minutes.
Mm.
Ready
And
for
I
countdown?
should. Ooh, come to think of it. Um, you know what? Screw it. That'll probably screw the formatting anyway. I was gonna be like, I did technically have another tab open with a stopwatch, but I'm like, but then I'll have to like full screen this, and then yeah.
Ah,
So I'll just I'll just go without it.
that's what one of my goals, probably once I'm no longer a grad student, is to have a proper streaming setup with wired internet, a 3 monitor setup, and like all OBS fully set up with all of the scenes for complicated things like that.
Yeah. Uh,
Ready for a countdown?
yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the Torchwood team relocates to California to better investigate FICOR. However, before that, Esther does make the rookie mistake of going to try and help out her sister Sarah to try and see her nieces one last time, and ends up dubbing her into the feds with eventually we get the reveal that the kids get taken away, and the mother gets put in a psych ward. But because of her fuck up, an assassin is able to track Torchwood from DC to California. Torchwood are able to, and I'm just reading from the wiki for the record, like for the most part, and just kind of adding bits. Torchwood manages to recover important servers out of Firecore's HQ and discovers plans for concentration camp facilities all over the world. Of course, this being very hard to have done. The assassin almost killing Jack and just basically screwing Gwen way over. But before he's about to reveal who he works for, he gets shot to all hell by Rex, who had to run up a billion flight of stairs just to get there.
It's a metric billion, by the way.
Meanwhile, in other stories, as well, Reese calls and informs Gwen that her dad has been put in a camp, which turns out to be FICOR-owned sort of camps for all these people to go to that aren't dying. And Gwen desperately wants Reese to get her father back, but he can't in time. But on the other end of things, Oswald and Jilly find themselves having to vie for attention with a politician who is leading in a segregation campaign called Dead is Dead, that Oswald manages to overcome by just walking into this rundown hospital that they shove a bunch of these people in, and basically wins them all over and gets the TV attention back on him. And meanwhile, this politician that was leading the Dead is Dead campaign ends up getting abducted by FICOR employees and crushed within a car, to the point that it doesn't look like there's so much trying to like squish her, because that wouldn't kill her, so much as just trap her in it. And short of anything I might have forgot. Oh, and also Rex has a run-in with his dad to try and get some, and ends up stealing some meds off him. And I'm pretty sure that's it.
All right, so that was completed in 3 minutes and 36 seconds.
Like, as I said in the text chat before we started, like, I don't have time to do a summary for this, so I was just gonna wing it. Which I don't tend to.
I was
anymore.
a little surprised when we were like barely in and you described the ending.
Yeah.
At least the ending of the A plot.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that the end of the summary? Or are we just leaving Oswald and the lady whose name I've forgotten out of it? She had 3 names.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget 3 names.
Jilly Kitzinger.
Oh no, I meant I was gonna say the lady in red, but Chili's also.
Oh yeah, the Ellis Hartley Monroe. Yeah, Ellis Hartley Monroe.
Yeah,
that was it.
There we go. All right. So let's start off with what we liked about this episode. Let's go to what Aaron said, and I have not read any of this in advance. The eclectic citizens of Venice Beach. It's like someone did their best to capture California circa 1969. Everyone is a brightly colored hippie except for the gay biker dude who rents the apartment out to our group. Jack Harkness is still very enjoyable and energetic. Oh, this is one of her thought dumps. his bringing the biker dude's inner gayness out, his messing around with Gwen as they steal the biometrics from Frumpkin, and even when he is handling the hot, burnt server parts and winces in pain like he's picked up a hot sheet of cookies. She likes the heist theme to the episode. The coordination of the switching of the server with the dummy one is fun. And yeah, the beach scene is interesting. I feel like there's almost some sort of obligation for certain companies to have a scene like that, because I remember Barbie having the exact same scene.
I guess it's a matter of like, well, they're in Venice Beach, so I guess we've got to be on the beach. Yeah, like I can't really. In some cases, it's a bit odd that it would be, but yeah, it's. I guess it was just a matter of, well, it's cheaper to film here, I guess, than.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like they definitely were like, yeah, this is where our stuff is. Let's get the plot here as soon as possible.
Yeah. Rather than like, you know, the LA stuff, which is basically just all sets and like a park. For me, favorite part. Oh, favorite overall. I guess I'll just go with the acting in general. There's one bit that I'll be leaving for favorite scene. But I generally like the acting in this. It's a bit of a final thought, but I feel like this is the strongest episode thus far. This is the one that's made me give the most shit about this story thus far, I feel. And it feels like maybe the actors felt the same way, because this feels like, to me, the strongest acting thus far as well.
Okay. I can't say I personally can think of a major difference in the acting between episodes. So maybe that doesn't stand out to me quite as much.
No, I think in some of the earlier ones, and it has been a while since I've rewatched them. I didn't rewatch them in time for this, but the earlier ones are very still like a bit more weighted with comedy.
Okay.
And stuff like that, and Jack just being a colossal asshole. Whereas this is like, okay, now the plot actually has to start moving.
I think this is the first time that I really felt they were a Torchwood team rather than like two different teams.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because there was both an American and a Welsh fucking up at the same time by calling their families in the middle of operations. What is the noun for? Welshman is not the right word for Gwen. I don't know how would somebody from Wales say that, or would they just say a Brit? Which I don't know. So for me, I think what I really liked was the idea with what did we say her name was, Ellis, where she's basically like, she's definitely not a good guy. She's not like, oh yeah, we're gonna agree with all of her points, but she's also an enemy of our enemy, right? She's saying things. I mean, in some ways they kind of support what Fyrehart is doing, but in other ways they really don't, right? They have this message of like, if you're living forever, so you should have a shit ton of painkillers to make it through the day, right? Just keep giving us money and we'll make sure you're as comfortable as possible. And she's like, we're going to put you in a box, we're going to stop giving you medicine, and we're never going to see you again. And then eventually Torchwood is going to fix. She doesn't care about Torchwood. She just says eventually the problem will solve itself, and there will no longer be immortality.
Yeah. And even as they say, they're like in that thing at the end where they're putting in that like car crusher, they're just kind of like, we like your whole deal, but you were getting a bit dangerously close to basically outing what we're doing, so we couldn't have that.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, because they liked some of it. They did not like other bits of it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to what we don't like. And Aaron said, even after everything that's already happened since Miracle Day, our heroes are not covering their tracks that well. Esther is followed to her sister's house, and Gwen is photographed talking on the beach, out by an oceanside beach surrounded by strangers. You'd think they would have more experience in hiding better.
Yeah, like the Gwen one is the more egregious one to me. Like Esther is, I mean, she comes from a government job, but like she's still kind of new to like what they're doing. So that's a bit more like I can kind of get it with her. Gwen being
See,
like,
I was
need to.
I was almost thinking. Sorry, I'll let you finish and then
Yeah.
I'll respond.
Yeah, like Gwen deciding, oops, I have a phone call. I'm going to go out onto the beach in the open and just, you know, look around, but somehow not notice the guy sticking a camera right at me. Is where I'm like, okay, that's kind of odd for her.
Got you. What I was thinking more is like Esther knows that the CIA knows who her family is. So if anyone is going to be like, should
Right.
really be paying a lot better attention, should not be doing what they were doing, is Esther doing that, in her own,
Yeah.
her own neighborhood, in places where people will expect to see her.
Yeah.
Gwen at least was in a situation where, like, if Esther had not been followed, nobody would know that they were in LA.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that Gwen was on the phone telling Reese that they were in LA. But
Right.
Gwen's call would need to be tapped first.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of, but yeah, they're not good at covering their tracks, and I think a lot of that is because they were used to just like Yanto putting in a an alien device, and boom,
Yeah.
their tracks are covered,
Right.
and they can't do that right now. Not
Yeah.
as easily anyway.
Yeah. For me, God. Whoops. Let's see. It's kind of funny because I think this is one of the first Torchwood episodes where I'm actually kind of, or at least of Miracle Day, where I'm kind of struggling to think of a negative. And in a thing of like either it's already been covered or I'm like, is that really enough of an issue that it bothers me enough to bring up here? Let's see. And in some cases it's like there probably is one, but I'm just blanking. God, there's probably something. Because there's probably definitely a scene, but otherwise I'm just kind of like, yeah, no, like, really aside from the Esther thing, which is basically just there to get the plot moving, I don't really have anything, so I'm just gonna have to skip.
All right. So for me, I'm going to say I think they got rid of Ellis way too quickly. I think the role she played in the story was a really interesting one, and that it was necessary to keep the story from getting repetitive. And I mean, I don't remember what comes next to know if it's getting repetitive. Obviously, we just kind of got the assassin who now can't speak, was all like, well, it's somebody that you knew in your ancient past, and you have to figure out who it is. So we have that going for it. But in the end, like, that kind of even makes the Ellis thing seem like, oh, this is filler. Because you introduce her and kill her off in the same episode. So
Yeah.
she doesn't really make a major change in the story. You could have just cut her out
Mm.
and all you would have lost is 15 minutes. I would have liked if she was a continuing. Would that be an anti-villain? Or she's an antagonist for
Yeah.
Oswald, an antagonist for Ficor.
Yeah.
Um, I would have liked to see that role being fulfilled for a longer period of time.
Yeah, that almost feels like they ran out of ideas for Oswald at this point in the story. And they're like, shit, what do we have him do this episode? Because we've decided that he needs to be in this episode instead of just not being there. Or I don't know. Because, like, yeah, it's like, it feels like she basically just exists to give him a plot this episode. In a
Yeah,
way where, like, you could kind of argue that, like, if she'd at least been, like, a smaller background figure in, like, one or two of the previous episodes, that where she was just kind of gaining traction, and it's this episode where she's gained enough traction for it to affect Oswald getting bookings and stuff, like, that would probably work better. Where she's just like
right.
a more minor character in previous, and then this is one where she becomes a bit a focus. Because otherwise, yeah, it is very like just one and done. She's only in this episode, so it's like, okay. Because
If I really like let my creativity run wild, I could even be like, oh shit, she managed to convince Reese to her opinion, and Reese and Gwen have an argument about Dead is Dead, and that interferes with things. But that is a kind of veering off into rewriting
yeah.
territory.
And I guess, well, if you want to talk about that, like, there is arguably a way that you could have done this without her even being there, of like, just generally maybe people are starting to get cold feet on this dude for very obvious reasons.
Yeah,
And he does that stunt at the end anyway, like near the end, and that's what wins people back over. Like, he just does that anyway. Like, maybe he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go there anyway, and I'll
mm-hmm.
just do this, and that's what gets him the attention back. So yeah, you could argue that she either should have been there more, or you arguably could have just done his plot without her if you
Right.
just tweak it a bit.
All right, that brings us on to favorite scenes. And Aaron says there's three paragraphs here, so that I don't know if they're one scene or they're three. Uh, Esther
Yeah,
begs her.
this is three different ones, so just skip the middle
Okay.
one because that's gonna be mine
Okay.
anyway.
Esther begs her sister to let her see her nieces. We don't see the girls in the scene, but we hear and have to imagine whether they're healthy and safe or actually living corpses calling out. Especially since one of the girls is yelling, "Mom, mom, mom, make her stop" in an annoyed voice.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was interesting because hearing the girls to me kind of made me think that everything was okay. But yeah, maybe
Yeah.
I don't know if we actually hear both voices or not.
Like, to me, I took it as like the kids have no idea that anything's weird yet.
Right.
Like, they're just kids being kids, and it's just the mother is so paranoid, and yeah, and like the kids are just
Yeah, like the
being
main
kids in the
danger to them
background.
is more that they're basically being kept in a box and not allowed
Yeah,
outside of the house or anything.
yeah.
Um, The second one Aaron wrote is Oswald entering the hospital and giving the woman a blanket is a nice contrast to Dr. Vera Juarez running around looking for the sick child's paperwork and worrying about the public access to the hospital. Vera, the heroic figure, is more concerned about bureaucracy, while Oswald, the villain, is the one actually attending to the patient's needs.
For obvious nefarious reasons, but
Right. And I would push back on some of that phrasing, and whereas I definitely get where Aaron is coming from.
Yeah.
But I would say when you have somebody in a hospital and you don't know whether they're sick or of what, knowing whether there's paperwork for them can actually, I mean, it's not a life or death situation in this episode for obvious reasons, but it could be.
Yeah.
It's something that you would really want to know that information if you're a classically trained doctor and not somebody who's used to working with immortals.
Right. Like, yeah, because it's like, I don't know what's wrong with this kid. They're just here. Like, for all I know, they're perfectly healthy, but they've just been dumped here for some reason. Like, what the hell is going on? Kind of a thing.
Also, I'm not sure he's really attending to the child's needs so much as using the child as a prop.
Yeah. I think it's just a matter of like, I get what she means. It's basically a matter of like, like, because of her job, she's kind of stuck with what she can do, whereas he's trying to look like the good guy by pretending he gives a shit. And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna get you guys looked after. And it's like, we all know why. It's just because you want the media attention. Like, it's funny because like the funny thing is rewatching this episode was like, wow, Bill Pullman from around this time could have been really good at playing like a fictional depiction of Trump.
Yeah, he definitely during that scene, the way his intonations sounded eerily like Trump, and I don't think Trump quite sounded like that back then. Like, I don't obviously, like, I'd never watched The Apprentice, so maybe I don't have as good of a peg on his speech patterns around that time. But like that, I don't remember him sounding like that until the past 10 years.
I mean, I guess either way, he was still a public figure, so it wouldn't be too surprising if Bill Pullman was technically using him as reference.
True.
Because he has, I feel like it's come up, not on this podcast at all, but I feel like it's come up before that there have been some movie villains who were inspired by Trump before. So.
Yep. Back to the Future. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, I hate that we only see the back of the old guy's head in that scene, and the one that I just put on the screen, because like he was just saying like, I recognize you, I know what who you are and what you did. Like, I could just imagine the horrified expression as he sees it, because wasn't he like, I mean, I haven't rewatched episode 1, but like, wasn't he being executed for being a pedophile?
I think it was like both that and killing the kid.
Yeah.
Like
I can just imagine how terrified that old man would be to see him touching a child.
Right. Like this old dude is very visually not won over. He's like, I know, like, I recognize you in behind that mask, you bastard. Like, he's less horrified and more just pissed off. And it's like, yeah, why are we letting the guy, like, and like, the whole like, oh, we're not so different, you and I. And it's like, mate, you were getting put to death for, abusing and murdering a child. So like,
right,
maybe avoid that wording. BF. For me, like, I'm going with the full thing, but yeah, like the thing that Aaron put as like the middle bit which I had to skip because that like
I
Gwen,
refrained from reading it because you
yeah,
told me to skip it.
them getting the info off Nicholas Fromkin because like Gwen doing the US the like generic US
Over the
accent,
top too.
yeah, and like oh god, what was the specific thing she said right near the end? I'm trying to remember. It was like this very like, who the hell would even say that now?
There
Kind
was
of,
some words she kept repeating, like awesome or something.
yeah. God, what was it? It was some sort of, in hindsight, more old timey sounding phrase.
Yeah,
Oh
probably
God, what
from
was
her
it?
impression of America from the movies.
Yeah. It was just like, like one of the last things she says before they leave, and it's like, it's so like, oh, but then they lampshade it with the thing right after of like Jack saying you're never doing that accent again, and Gwen saying she's mortified of
Hmm.
like even she knows. Oh God, that was terrible. It's very funny. Um, because it's like, so it's like, okay, that was an intentionally over the top attempt at an accent, and it's very funny because like normally that would be a matter of either they would just play it off as
Oh,
like
hot diggity is probably what you were thinking of.
hot diggity. That's the thing that I was thinking of like, who the fuck says that anymore? Like, I mean, you'll hear it in like cartoons and that for kids.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, like The Simpsons. I feel like I can remember like Homer having said hot dig. Oh no, it's like Grandpa Simpson will say hot diggity a lot. So it's like, it's very like, why is this woman in her like 30s at this point, maybe early 40s, I don't know, like saying hot diggity? Like, it's so funny. Like, it's like, it's like, it's intentional parody of like
So
people from the
I
UK
hate
trying to do US accents.
I hate to bear this news. Let me paste this onto the screen. Apparently, that has been rising in usage, at least in books. It definitely peaked around the Great Depression era, but what is apparently climbing from looks like late 80s all the way through to uh 2010s or so. So it was
Hmm.
increasing in popularity during this era. No idea why.
Yeah. Oh, like
And
in
that's
it.
specifically books, so you don't know how we can't tell necessarily
Yeah.
fiction from nonfiction there, but
Right. I guess to that, like, all I can assume is like being used in a lot of like stuff like The Simpsons and other media on screen, and it's just caught on. Like, there is definitely still some like older stuff like that comes up, even though you would have thought that would have died off. Like, there's probably slang I used as a kid that is just slang that I know from my parents. So it's boomer slang and stuff like that.
I've learned that a lot of the slang that I knew as a child came from surfers
Mm,
because that was just like the cultural moment of
right,
surfers.
right. I mean, I guess at least she didn't really date it by saying something like epic, because
I
I mean,
think
that's more our, like, that's like Gen X, Gen Y, but like,
now I
um,
have to check that because
it's like,
I mean it
well,
was very much a I mean I guess it's still a gamer thing,
yeah,
but it was even more a gamer thing when this would have come out.
right. Because I'm thinking like,
Uh,
because like
is
I was in high school from like '03 to '08, and like that was very,
oh, there it is.
and that was like it would have made a lot of sense for her to say that, but at the same time, I feel like that actress would have been old enough that it would have felt a very how do you do fellow kids thing to say.
The funny thing is, Epic was at its lowest point of usage around 1920. I'm assuming before that they were mostly talking about it in the classic sense, right? Like an epic poem. From 1920, it basically climbed more. It climbed on a curve to the point of like by 1980 it was still not as much used, and then it was continuously climbing through from 1980 until 2017. So
God, people were still using it that frequently in 2017. That's interesting.
And that it just plateaued. It didn't drop off.
Okay, yeah.
Shit. I don't know if you're aware that our government decided to name the bombing of Iran Operation Epic Fury.
Yeah. Which is
Which, to me, that just says Pete Hegseth thinks this is Call of Duty.
Right.
More than how do you do fellow kids.
Right.
But yeah, it is weird that I think it's kind of... It was overused among a small number of people, and then it kind of caught on to the mainstream is what I think happened. And so it's not used as frequently per person, but it's used by more people.
Yeah, sort of like how, if you go back into the 90s, vibe or vibes in the way it's used now was technically a thing. It was just, it's probably one of those AAVE things where it was it was used by black people a lot in those circles.
I think it was more used by hippies and yoga.
Right, yeah.
People who'd be you would see things be like, oh wow, you have real or I don't know if it was used to me. I feel like it was not used any differently than the word aura, which also has been really changed. Anyway, we're getting into a whole massive other discussion. Feel free to tell us about vibes and aura in the comments. So my favorite scene, and this is going to sound weird because I just said I don't like it being in this episode, but the execution of it was amazing, and that was the whole car crushing. I just kind of wish it was saved for another episode.
Right.
Because the way that it was pulled off with the whole why is it not pasting? Do I need to refresh the window, or is it a problem with something else? But the whole, taking the person who's basically we should put these injured people into some sort of perpetual limbo, and then putting her into a perpetual limbo, but with this amazing cinematography and use of, live action effects, right? Yeah. This was not done via CGI.
Right.
Except for maybe the eyeball. But it was really psychologically powerful. It was really visually powerful. So I really liked the scene. I just wish it was a little longer after the character's introduction.
Yeah, I guess in a way, I could see that maybe being practical depending on the budget they had to have a cutaway thing that she's just kneeling in or something and has her eye right up to.
Right.
If they had the money to do something like that, then maybe that was it. Or it was just on a her with just a camera right up to her eye. And then they edited that into the thing in post or something like that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we move on to least favorite scenes. Let's see what Aaron said. To zoom in on this is actually really fitting in terms of segue. The zoom in on the still living eye of Ellis Hartley Monroe in the crushed car. How is it even still intact? It's still a striking image, though.
I mean, again, I guess that's the thing of and I don't know why I assume it, because I do feel like they did crush it quite small. That I was under the impression that they crushed the car only enough that she's stuck in there. So rather than like completely crushed into basically paste, except for her eye.
I think at minimum they crushed it enough that when Miracle Day ends, she's completely dead.
Probably, yeah. Like, so it might just be like her head's on a weird angle or whatever, and just like she's like, yeah, she's not coming back from it, but she's also not crushed completely into paste.
Right. Aaron also says Rex shooting the assassin just before he tells Gwen and Jack who he's working for. It's a cliche tease that really just frustrates everything.
Yeah.
It is a little cliche. I can't super disagree with that.
Yeah. And like, not to mention the reaction right after of he was about to tell us who he was working for.
I was like, Torchwood isn't fucking Black Widow. They're not going to pull the whole he was about to tell us, right? And then immediately after I thought that, Gwen is like, he was about to tell us. And I'm just like, God damn it, Gwen.
I guess there is the added bit of Gwen specifying after initially, and you shot him in the throat.
Yeah.
So it's not even a matter of you shot him, it's you shot him in the throat, so now we'll never get answers because he can't talk.
Which, I mean, makes me wonder, given all of the other impossible things in this season, if he shot him like in the side of the head, would it, the joke about like, oh, the reason Wolverine can't remember anything is because he can't regenerate brain tissue. So every time he gets hit in the head, he loses a memory. Do you think that applies to Miracle Day? Like if you shot him in the head, he might forget the information he was about to share?
Maybe. Or he'd just be brain dead. Like, still, like basically like a vegetable where he's technically conscious, but no, lights are on, no one's home.
Yep.
Or like, because yeah, it's like, in a way, yeah, Rex, you probably could have shot him in like the knees or something.
True. I mean, I imagine he was especially after climbing 33 points of stairs and however many painkillers it took to get up those stairs.
Right.
It was probably a lot more like I'm going by the book and I'm going by my training, I should say, not the book, but like I'm going by my training and I do not have enough brain cells left to think about what's going to happen. Although I do, it would have been nice if he was like, I have 10 minutes until I get up there at the speed I'm moving. I need a good plan of attack.
Yeah.
And
it really is just a matter of like, by the time he got up there, he's so drowsy and fucked up that he's just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna shoot him.
I mean, there could be a commentary about Americans there, but thankfully, if there is, Gwen didn't make it out explicitly.
Yeah, like if he'd like stumbled into view enough that they'd seen him first, they could have been like, no. But and like that would have diverted the guy's attention away from them. And maybe they could have tried doing something. I don't know if they could have, but maybe Gwen could have like kicked him in the shin or something. I don't know. But yeah, it is a thing of like, yeah, he was so fucked up by the time he got up there that like whatever plan he might have had probably went out the window. Beyond just neutralize the target.
Yeah, and I could see him like basically operating on like, I have 3 seconds left before I'm on my ass.
Yeah,
we make those 3 seconds count.
Right.
All right. What's your least favorite scene?
Ooh. I guess I'll go with, honestly, I brought it up before, but Gwen deciding it would be a great idea to be like, oh, I've got a phone call from Reese. Let me go out to a very public, open place on the beach to take the call, with no explanation why she had to go that far away. When every other time she picks up the phone, she just answers it. She like maybe goes off to the side to make the conversation a bit more private, but she doesn't go out she doesn't.
So basically, the only reason she had to go outside was so that she could be seen.
Yeah. It feels really clunky. Like, if they'd had a thing of like, oh god, there's no signal in here, I'll go outside, that would have been something. Like, I still don't get why she'd be out in the freaking open and not like, oh, I'm gonna like stand next to a tree. Or like,
I mean, they were out in the open from like the moment they showed up. I think they were genuinely believed that nobody could have figured out where they were going.
Right. But even then, I mean, like, she is scouring the area constantly. She's like constantly looking around, probably to see if someone's like recognized her or this, that, the other. But it's still just like, you couldn't like, and especially because she's looking around so much that I'm like, how are you missing the guy pointing a camera at you? Is he really that far away? Because it doesn't look like it from what the camera shows us. Like, he should be just close enough that if she looked in his direction, she'd notice a camera pointed at her and be like, oh shit. But for plot reasons, she can't notice him. And it's just like, again, a very simple thing of just being like, shit, there's no signal in this shitty apartment. I need to go outside. And it's only when she gets to where she does that there's enough of a signal or something. That would have been something. But just, oops, I've also got to screw up and get caught out in public so the story can keep moving, is like, come on. I mean, to be fair, we've definitely done episodes where Torchwood are made to look really incompetent, but that's still just like, come on, Gwen. You've been at this for long enough.
So I'm actually going to talk about that same scene, but for a different reason. And that is, so in that scene, she tells Reese all of the information that would be needed so that if somebody was hacking the call, they could figure out where she was. She doesn't hide that stuff.
Right.
But she hides the actual answers to his questions about her living situation. It kind of like, it gives the feeling that like she's so ingrained from lying to him in the first 2 seasons that she just, compulsively cannot tell the truth. That no matter what he asks her, her gut instinct is always to lie, even though there's no benefit to lying about whether or not she has electricity. Or any of that. Like, what is the deal?
Yeah, it's a thing of like, you could have just said you're in the US, but been nebulous about where, or just given a different state. Could have said you were in Florida.
Because I think she said California, right?
I think so. Like, at the very least, it's like, because I think if she didn't say LA, she definitely said California. Because like,
I will say Rex was the one on them about like being spotted, but he's the one who fucking called the doctor and was basically like, I'm not going to say I'm in LA, but I'm in LA.
Well, yeah, it's like I think he admits to being in California or something, or just the way I think he says California, but I forget if he says LA specifically.
I think he asked like where he can get drugs in LA.
Yeah, because like,
and then she's like, "Oh, so you're in LA?" He's like, "I didn't say that."
Right. Yeah, something to that effect. I forget if he does outright say he's in LA or if it's like just claims to be near enough. Like, maybe he was pig-headed enough to admit being in Venice Beach or something, which I guess technically he wasn't in LA when he called her, but it's still like, yeah, it's very, He was either being vague about California or just something he says tips her off to, oh, so you're in LA? And he's like, I didn't say I was in LA. Which again, technically at that point, I think they were still in Venice Beach. But yeah, it's still like,
I just assumed that the beach was in LA. I don't know.
well, yeah,
I've been to
I
Cali,
forget.
but I've
Yeah.
not spent enough time there to know where things are.
I mean, they do say like, well, we're in Venice. This is Venice Beach. We need to get to LA, which is like however many miles
Oh,
away.
okay.
So I guess it's like in. I mean, it might even be one of those things of like it's in the metropolitan area of LA, but like it's far enough away from the city of LA or something that she's like, well, we're in Venice Beach. We need to go like X amount of miles to get to where we need to be in LA.
So Venice, LA. Oh, wait, what? Okay, so I guess it is in the LA area because
Yeah.
Google is referring to it as Venice, Los Angeles.
So
But it's
okay.
30 minutes away from the actual like LA city.
And let's face it, with what traffic apparently is like in LA, probably more like an hour.
Fair.
um,
Um,
yeah, it's a matter of like, well, I mean, technically we're in like, yeah, should like what's her name? Esther is like, well, yeah, we're technically in another city, but yeah, which I guess is it's one of those things of like LA is just so damn big that Venice is
yeah, I know.
like
From
is
what I've heard, LA is one of those like really, really horizontal cities. It's it's one of those Western U.S. cities where it's like
yeah,
you could
just
probably fit one or two smaller states in the area referred to LA. Like
yeah,
the state I used to live in, Connecticut, is the same has the same land area more or less as the city of Houston
yeah.
in Texas. So I can imagine LA being that type of city.
Yeah, I mean, I've joked about it with my dad before, but it's like Australia is a country the size of like about the equivalent size of the continental US, but I'm pretty sure we either have a lower population than or equivalent population than the state of California. Like California maybe has more people in it than Australia does. Or something like that. Because I think our
I think
populations
California has more major cities than Australia does. So Australia
probably.
has a population as of September of 27.7 million. California as of early 2026 has a population of 39.4
There you
million.
go. So yeah, they've definitely got a bigger population than us, despite these
Um,
smaller areas.
I I've looked up New Zealand enough to already know that if you add New Zealand to Australia, it would not make that much of a difference.
Well, yeah, they're much, much smaller. Mind you, like, we have, like, a way smaller population than Japan, and they have less landmass than us, so.
True.
Same with the UK. um, yeah, that's what happens when you have a state, a country that's almost equivalent in size to the US, but like only one side of it is real, like, but most of the population is based on the coastline rather than spread out throughout the entire thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Venice it seems is basically like the part of LA or suburb of LA almost that touches the sea.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it's effectively like a thing of like there are some capital cities here where they'll be like, technically, you wouldn't have to go that far to get to another place that would be referred to as a city, but it's more of like a satellite city,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a thing where it's nowhere near as big as the state capital, but it's like, yeah, it's like just big enough that it's considered a city. It's just like a small city. It's like too big to be considered a town, but it's not exactly like a, you know, bustling metropolis either.
Though I was heated. I met when I met I met a new member of my lab who used to live in a big city.
Mm.
And he was referring to like cities like the one I live in now or the one I grew up in as small towns. And I'm like, damn it, like 80 to 90,000 is not a small town. That it's a small city, but it is not a town.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I live in a area where the population of the region is over 100,000, but it would be way smaller if you only counted like the main place the region is centered around.
Right.
So I always just call my hometown a town, even though it's technically referred to as a city.
So it's like my father lives in the county of the nearest town, but he's not technically in any town.
Yeah.
All right, so we've I mean you know what? This is my socialization for the week. I don't hate that we've gone off topic, but at the same time, YouTube will hate if we just talk about geography the whole time. So that was the end of our sections. So final thoughts. Let's see what Aaron said. This is actually a pretty action-packed episode with a lot of character interaction between Gwen and Jack that brings back the fun of classic Torchwood. The drama between Esther and Rex feels earned, as it's very evident that Esther is letting her fear for her nieces and sister get in the way of some important decision-making. It also feels like Rex's anger at her is justified. Him yelling at Esther and telling her it's her fault is uncomfortable, but it doesn't go on for so long that we begin to hate Rex. Instead, he throws his energy into doing the only thing he knows he can do, climb 66 flights of stairs, 21 floors to his imminent non-death, and then shoot the threat before that threat can reveal who he is behind everything. Come to think of it, this was my favorite episode when the series aired. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, like as I said before, like going into my final thoughts, like of the episodes we've covered so far, which is like what, this is the 4th, I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
yep.
Like this is my favorite so far. Like it almost makes me think that like this probably would have benefited from not being 10 parts. Like it feels like they were
10 parts was a short season when this came out. It's a long season
right,
now.
Right.
It was a short season when this came out.
Right. I mean, it's longer than Children of Earth, but yeah. It's like compared to the 2 full series of Torchwood that came before those.
Right.
It's technically still shorter, but yeah. Although I think the episodes might be longer, I forget. Because I think normal Torchwood episodes were still around the like Doctor Who like 42 to 45 minute mark. I could be wrong. Maybe because they were aimed at an older audience, they were longer.
So it looks like they're about 10 minutes longer, which makes sense because it was on Stars. So
yeah,
it wouldn't be. I mean, I guess there was probably. I don't know. I wonder if it was. I guess it does seem it was more Stars mentality than BBC mentality in some things.
Which might have even been a thing of like maybe there was, when this aired in the US, there were like a ton of ads to make it go like an hour and a half rather than like just enough enough ads to fill up an hour.
Stars is a premium channel like HBO.
Okay.
So I don't think there's ads on it.
Okay. Or maybe if there are, they're just like between shows or something. Like I think the BBC technically on some channels anyway has ads, but they're just not during shows. They're like a couple between if they have nothing else to show or something. But yeah. Yeah, this is my favorite so far. It's not perfect, but I mean it's Torchwood. I mean, like, nothing's perfect anyway, but point being, Torchwood's very flawed for the most part anyway. Feels like everyone's starting to, like, get their characters. I definitely was more interested in... This is probably the most I've given a shit about Rex And I think the thing with his dad kind of helps that a bit. Because, like,
Okay.
he's mainly just been, like, the snarky one up to now. And
Yeah, his main job has been, like, sword fighting with Jack, more or less.
pretty much. And, like, this is where he gets to be a bit more serious. And he helps out with the planning and all that. And it's like, it's not that I hated him before, but more it was just like, oh, come on. Whereas now, it's like, okay, we get the thing with his dad and all that, and stuff like that, yeah. But yeah, and this is the least annoying Jack has been in this. I forget which episode. I forget which episode it was, whether it was 3 or 2. But I remember in the early episodes fucking hating Jack in this story. So the fact that he is now, like, less annoying is very appreciated.
And if I remember right, Jack is the one who, after the fact, does thank Rex for, saving them from a situation where they were tied up in an assassin's mercy.
Right. But yeah, it's like, yeah, it's kind of I'll take what I can get. We'll see if this keeps going on a trajectory of getting better, because I've been dreading watching this, because I've never seen it. Like with Children of Earth, I basically just put off watching it until we were covering it. So I haven't watched ahead. I might at this point, just to see, but if nothing else, yeah, like, this is definitely this is the one where I was most tempted to just watch the next episode as well, to see where this goes.
Okay. I think I'm going to agree with a lot of those thoughts. So in a lot of Miracle Day, there was a lot of what the fuck. And here, like, I have, there were some what I would consider relatively minor complaints. A few idiot moments, but not ones that were super outside the realm of possibility. The one character who, like, she was introduced and killed off a little too soon, but, we only got that for one episode. Doesn't say a lot of negative things about this episode itself, per se. Generally speaking, I would say if the whole season was like this, I would consider that a positive.
Yeah.
Do I have anything else to say that we didn't say? I don't remember much. I don't remember a lot of what's to come, so I don't remember if they deal more with Rex's relationship with his father. If that whole scene was only there so that he could get some painkillers, that's a little weird. And I hope that later in the season he does speak with his father again. Yeah. But this episode does not need that. This episode is fine without that. So that's not part of, like, oh, this episode's penalized for it. Like, it's part of a season. And it would have been weird for them to redress all of their baggage in one episode. Right. So I wouldn't have wanted that.
Right.
Ratings. And I put all of our Miracle Day ratings onto one slide together. Erin gave this a 4.5, which is her highest Miracle Day so far. How about you?
God, I am definitely going to have to rewatch episode 2, because I don't remember giving that a 4.5, but I'm guessing it must have been good enough that I liked it enough to do that. But yeah, because I almost thought that, like, oh, this is probably going to be my first 4.5, and then looking at those ratings again, I'm definitely not giving it a 5.
Yeah, that's like, I gave episode 1 a 5, and I don't remember why. I'd have to re-listen to that podcast.
Yeah. To that end, and of course, yeah, these are always ratings that can change anyway. So going back and rewatching these will probably shift that somewhat. Especially because I think 2 is the one where Jack is the most annoying. So it is really surprising that I gave that a 4.5. Unless there was other things that pulled it up, but Jack was the thing dragging it down from being a full 5 for me. I don't know. Anyway, I'm probably going to give this a 4.5.
I think I'll give this a 4.5 as well. I've been sitting here thinking about whether it should be a 4 or a 4.5, but I don't think the negatives drag it down that much, especially if I gave The New World a 5.0. Again, I don't remember why, but that says that, 4.5 would not be even my highest Miracle Day rating.
I wonder.
So yeah, let's go ahead with the 4.5 unanimous.
I wonder if it's almost a matter of like one of those cases where I think there's been occasional times where I've been like, I can think of so little negative to talk about this that it feels that like, because I can think of so little negatives, it gets full marks kind of thing, maybe.
Right.
Because like you can't think of a reason to justifiably give it less because it's like, well, I didn't have anything bad to say, so screw it.
Maybe. So with a unanimous 4.5, that puts it in between 60 and 91 out of, or 60 and 92 out of 498 things reviewed. For Torchwood, it is on par with Random Shoes and Meat. With other spin-offs, it's also on par with Death of the Doctor, Sarah Jane Adventures, The Nightmare Man, Goodbye Sarah Jane Smith, and the Fourth Doctor Animated Shada, if we count that as a spin-off. I don't know. It is not as good as Sarah Jane Adventures, The Empty Planet, Whatever Happened to Sarah Jane, Torchwood Countryside. It is better than Ghost Machine, Adrift, and Out of Time. So that is our thoughts on Escape to LA. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this week's episode if you've watched it. Don't forget to like the video if you've listened this far. Subscribe on YouTube to get our exports, or follow us on Twitch or Twitter to get notified when we stream. Next time, we continue Miracle Day with the Categories of Life, written by Jane Espenson and starring John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness, Eve Miles as Gwen Cooper, Kai Owen as Reese Williams, Mekhi Phifer as Rex Matheson, and Alex Havens as Esther Drummond. We'll see you then.